we now see Nimisha come over and she's saying Acharya ji Pranam and quotes Anand Sahib from Nitnem Sahib. हरे जियो गुफा अंदरे रखे कई वाजा पवनु वजाइया. The Lord placed the soul into the cave of the body and blew the breath of life into this musical instrument. Body consciousness or soul was put into the body and the body became activated. वजाइया वाजा पाँव नाओ द्वारे परगट किए दसवा गुपतु रखाइया. He blew the breath of life into this musical instrument and activated the body, revealed its 9 doors, and kept the 10th door hidden. Dearest Acharya ji Pranam, in the verse above, a rather graphic imagery is portrayed of the soul, body, and their relation to each other. In the Bible too, Genesis 2:7 reads, "The Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." Acharya ji, many a times I have heard you say that the soul doesn't reside in the body and instead all and everything resides in the Atman. What then are these words really pointing at, and how should we correctly understand them? Also, please could you talk about the 10th secret door that is mentioned in the verse? Thank you. Love and gratitude, Nimisha. Nimisha, the context is a bit different. The Atma that I refer to is not the soul that is usually talked of. Soul is consciousness. Atma is the center, seat, origin and dissolution of consciousness. There is a great difference. In graphic description that you have quoted, both from the Nitnem Sahib and from the Bible, if you have to find a counterpart to Atma, it is not soul, but God. Here you have a narrative in which God is breathing life into the musical instrument, which is the body. And it is commonly thought that inside the body is the Atma. And the Atma is thought of as analogous to the soul. No, that's not how I refer to Atma, or how the Upanishads refer to Atma, or how a Ribhu Gita or a Ramana Maharshi would refer to Atma. Atma is the one supreme truth. Therefore, if at all you have to find a character in your narrative that corresponds to Atma, it is not soul but God. Atma is not even God, you see. But if you do necessarily have to establish a correspondence, then it is better established with God rather than soul. Soul is merely consciousness. In different contexts, you could call soul as Chit or Pran. Atma is Brahm, Satya, truth and God. So now let's see what is happening. The Atma alone is. The Atma alone is. Let's start from there. And let's treat Atma as analogous to God. So you go to the Bible, or you go to the Quran, or you go to Vedanta, and everywhere you find it mentioned that in the beginning He alone was. In the beginning He alone was. Neither was there time, nor was there space, let alone light and sound. He alone was. And even to say He alone was is an admission of the limits of language, because in saying was, we seem to be referring to past tense. We seem to be saying that He alone was in a certain century or millennia BC. That's how we use the word was, right? Even if you want to go back and infinitely back in time, you would still keep on using the word was. Even to say was is inappropriate, because what that one source, the originator, the progenitor did was not in some ancient time. It is not as if He did it just before the Big Bang. So you cannot console yourself by saying that if you can calculate the exact date of the Big Bang, then you also know when God decided to form the universe. All that is nonsense. This is subtle. You will have to walk very closely with me. He alone was, and it's not an event in history. You cannot chronicle it. You cannot put a date to it. If it's not in time, then you cannot say He alone was, neither can you say He alone would be. What does time mean? Past and future. Since when He alone was, there was neither time nor space, therefore He alone was is not an event in time, which means it is neither in past nor in future. Therefore He alone is. He alone is. He alone is. And this isness does not pertain to space. It does not mean that He alone is sitting somewhere up in the skies. He alone is, independent of both time and space. All religious traditions of the world completely agree on this point. Oh, they may give it different contexts, different names, different narratives, different kind of stories, but the essence is the same. He alone is. All right. And then, from Him emanate time and space. From where else can time and space come? This has to be understood. If He alone is, from where will the earth come? From Him, because He alone is. Stick to the fundamental principle. He alone is. Therefore, the earth comes from Him. The earth didn't come from Him in history. The earth comes from Him. The earth is continuously coming from Him. When? Oh, right now. When? Right now. He didn't create the earth in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a million thousand BC. He didn't. It's not as if He did something and is now relaxing. God is not in the stream of time. Though that's how the limited human intellect comprehends it. We want to say, before the universe came, mark the use of the word before. Before refers to time. Oh, before the universe came into being, He alone was. And then He said, let there be light. He said, kun faya kun, and these things happened. As if we are talking of King Akbar or King Ashok or Alexander the Great. He said that once upon a time there lived an old man called God. And bored of his loneliness, he decided to perform a few miracles. That's how the common mind perceives the Genesis. The earth was not formed. The earth is continuously being formed. We are the ego, and we are so enamored with space and time that we put even God into time. We don't understand how time is born out of God. Instead, we put God inside time, and that's a great disrespect to God. This is the central blasphemy. If someone wants to declare somebody an apostate, if someone wants to charge somebody with kufr, then this is the only kufr. To say that once upon a time God created earth. What have you done? You have put God in time. But we don't even comprehend how evil is this statement. And we keep on making it, and we keep on insulting God. So the source is exhibiting itself as the universe. To whom? To another part of itself that perceives the universe. So from the non-dual source arises the duality of the perceiver and the perceived. What is the perceived thing? Universe. Who is the perceiver? Consciousness. So when He decided in His sovereign will to show up, to whom? To Himself. He split into two. He split into the seen and the seer. He split into the experience and the experiencer. He split into the object and the subject. The non-dual showed up to himself as the play and interplay of a billion dualities, day and night, heat and cold, sorrow and happiness, man and woman. And the Upanishads say, even when he exhibited himself this way, he still retained his completeness. From him proceeded the entire universe, and yet he remained what he was. It wasn't as if he chopped off his right hand to create the universe. It wasn't as if he emptied his treasures to create the earth and the sky. He just had to will. He just had to say, let it be so. And it happened. No, it didn't happen. It is happening. It is happening. Therefore, God is not merely a creator. God is a perpetual creator. God is constantly creating. Who is this God? Who is this source? This is the source of one's consciousness. That deep point of peace that the mind recedes to. Therefore, the great scriptures are all fully justified when they say that God breathed life into soil and the soil became man. Because that is what he did, if you look at it a little dramatically. From him comes the soil, and from him comes the one who arises from the soil and then walks on the soil. So the narrative you have quoted says God took the soil or the musical instrument and made it alive. The story starts a little before that. The story starts when first of all God becomes soil. So what is he doing? He is becoming soil and then he is coming alive as soil. There are two spontaneous and simultaneous miracles happening. We find it obviously miraculous when soil expresses itself as the flower. We find it very, very miraculous when soil expresses itself as living consciousness. But even before this miracle, another miracle has already happened and we probably didn't notice it. What is that miracle? The very appearance of soil. So from that source comes the soil. And now that the soil has come, that source decides, let's have some more fun. What's the point in having soil without somebody to run on the soil? Without somebody to till the soil? Without somebody to make sense of the soil? Without somebody to make a house with the soil? What's the point in just having dead matter? There has to be somebody who looks at the matter, plays with matter, builds with matter, calls the matter as matter. Therefore, along with matter, there is needed consciousness. Just for fun, you see, no other reason. God creates the universe and there is no consciousness in the universe. Who will then talk about all these things? The universe is fun only when Nimisha gets befuddled and asks a question, right? Assume the universe is there and no Nimisha with her consciousness is there. Then the universe is quite a boring place, The soil is there, but there is no little kid to run around on the soil. There are no young people who are running barefoot on the soil and beating it down with their vigor. No fun. So first he turned himself into soil, and what does soil indicate? Matter. The entire material universe. First of all, he turned himself into soil, and then he said, not sufficient. We also need this soil to laugh and talk and be born and be die. And be sad and be happy. So he said, from this soil, let's have a few other things as well. So that came up, which you call as consciousness. The man came up, the woman came up, the insects came up, the birds came up. They are all just soil. But they are soil that has been blessed with life by exactly the same one who first of all created the soil. The soil itself does not come from nowhere. Who is the soil? Oh, he is the soil. If he is not there, from where will soil come? Remember, when he alone is, then he alone is. Or does the quote say that he alone is with the soil in brackets? When he alone is, there is no soil either. Or is there? There is no soil. So he alone is. And then there is the soil. And simultaneously with the soil, you require somebody to throw the soil around and have some fun. So the kid needs to be there. And what is the kid doing? He is rolling on the soil and then getting beaten up by the mother. This is what God wants. He's a gossip monger, He gossips with himself. Look at what he has done. Created all kinds of little things. And what do these little things keep doing? They keep doing their little things. And what is God doing? Oh, he is a supreme witness. Peeping Tom. Just having fun at everybody else's expense. The man is fighting with the wife. Who is watching? God. He is not that kind of a saintly fellow you take him to be. Otherwise, why does one need to be omnipresent, No privacy, no secrecy at all in the universe. Would you want to check into a hotel where there are CCTV cameras, even over your bed, even in the washroom? To be born in this universe is to check into this kind of a hotel. CCTV everywhere. So he is, a fun lover. All he loves is fun. No morals, no ethics, no rules, no foundations, no conditioning, no good, no bad. Just let's have some fun. Now you would see why the knowers have worshipped him as the one husband of all the wives in the universe. That's what his intention was, to have fun. He could have simply continued to be alone. No. All these petty little things just came up. From where? From him. And now he is having fun with them. And the little things are bewildered. What's going on? Look at Ajitesh's face. Somebody is having fun and all the others are perplexed. Why are we here? Who brought us here? Look at the predicament of the little one that is born. He's asking, ye kahan aa gaye hum? Why the heck am I here? He will never know. Two hands, but why? Two eyes, but why? This huge universe, but why? No reason at all, sir. Somebody is having fun. That's all. Let the scientists beat their heads against each other. They will never know the reason because there is no reason. The only reason is so, Nimisha, that's the long story. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the rather short story blown up and turned long. The saints turn fun-loving. Therefore, they describe the creativity of the source, the creativity of God in various ways. And it's delightful. They keep singing of God. You have quoted two such delights here. Now read them again. And read them with a mischievous smile. To understand him, you have to be a little like him. And he is certainly mischievous. If you will become too serious while reading the scriptures, you will miss the point. Now read and read again. The Lord placed the soul into the cave of the body. Do you see him smiling? I do. The Lord placed the soul into the cave of the body like a little kid placing batteries into the cave of the toy. How excited is he? Now something is going to happen. The doll is going to dance. I am placing in the batteries into the cave. The Lord placed the soul into the cave of the body and blew the breath of life into this musical instrument. The doll beats a drum. It's a musical instrument. And blew the breath of life into this musical instrument. The body consciousness or soul was put into the body. It became activated. From the great nothingness, from the total nothingness, comes the toy and the battery. Comes the Jad and the Chetan. Comes the Jangam and the Sthavar. Comes the Drishya and the Drishta. You call this as Jad. You call yourself as Chetan. The two are one. The two were born together. The two die together. The one reveals himself as the two. To whom? To himself. To himself masquerading as the little subject. Even God is sometimes eager to know himself, and then he becomes the ego. Because no knowing is possible to completeness. Completeness cannot know. To completeness, all is already known. The great delight of learning is possible only to the ego. God wants to enjoy that delight, so he becomes the ego. He becomes the ego, and the ego is ignorant, and slowly the ego enjoys the delight of learning. Learning what? That which it already knew, but deliberately chose to forget. Who did that? Oh, there is only one to do anything. He. He knew everything. Everything. What is everything? Nothing but himself. Obviously, he knew himself. But when you already know, then you cannot know anymore. It's boring. So he turns into the little ego, and the little ego does not know anything. That is a great blessing, because now the little ego can proceed on a journey of realization. Now the little ego can proceed on a journey of learning and liberation. So God enjoys it both ways. Pretty much a hedonist he is. He enjoys both his completeness and his incompleteness. Fundamentally, he is always complete. And as the ego, he becomes incomplete. There is delight in completeness and there is delight in incompleteness. He enjoys both. And that is the secret of living a fulfilled life, Enjoy both. Enjoy your utter completeness, which is your core, and also delight in your weakness, in your limitations, in your ignorance, which are your surface and which would always be there. As long as you are alive, there would be pettinesses, there would be weaknesses. Life is a great opportunity to revel in both. You getting it? Like winter days in India, You enjoy the sunlight, and when it becomes a little too harsh, then you move into the shade of your room. Isn't that great? Come outdoors, enjoy the world. And when it becomes too much, then go back into yourself. That's how one must live life. Otherwise, there are little things like sunburns. God does not like a sunburn. See what he is doing and replicate it. Because he is not only your father, he is you. Therefore, do as he does. He is one, and at the same time he is many. Be one and be many. At the center, be one. To the world, be many, many, many. Be as he is and do as he does. remain one, and yet live many, many lives. How many lives is he living? As many lives as are possible. He is the insect. He is the tiger. He is the river. He is the mountain. And yet he is none of them. That's how you too must live. Live multiple lives. And yet don't be alive at all. Be thoroughly dead inside. And only when you are nobody inside can you afford to be many, many outside. We try the opposite. We try to be one on the exterior, and inside we are badly split. We try to be one reliable, consistent person on the outside. One trustworthy person on the outside whose manners and behavior are all predictable. And in trying to remain one on the outside, we get badly splintered within. God doesn't do it this way. Outside, we said he is the insect and he is the tiger. Sometimes the insect, sometimes the tiger. Oh. Sometimes the elephant, sometimes the grass. You can't predict him. He is totally untrustworthy. Don't have any hopes from him. He'll dash your hopes. But in his essence, he is one. And if you can touch his essence, then you will have something to totally fall back upon, something very reliable, something unshakable, impregnable. But only when you relate to the essence of God, not to the manifestation of God. The manifestation of God is a thing in time. It is not reliable. Time changes everything. Those who relate to the creation of God find themselves deceived, and then they become bitter. They say, oh, we have been cheated. But then who asked you to relate to the surface? Why didn't you relate directly to the core? At the core is the source. The creation of the universe is a bit like the growth of the baby in the womb. From the little center, the growth is radially outwards. And that which grows outwards is nothing but an expression of the first cell that is at the center. Do you see this? The two cells fuse into one, and then there is really outward growth. And that which the grown-up mass represents is nothing but that which was contained in the very initial cell. Essentially, there is no difference. Only quantitatively there is a difference. When it began, it was this much, and then it exploded. So, on the surface, there are now going to be differences. Something will show up as the eyes, something will show up as the nose, something will show up as hair, something will show up as the limbs. Now there would be differences on the surface. But every bit of all the differences would carry the same DNA as that of the first cells. So if you'll just look at how it shows up, you will only see differences. You know, the hand is in no way the same as the nose, or is it? The tongue is in no way the same as the intestines, or is it? But if you look at the DNA, oh, it's the same. It's the same as the DNA of the source cell. That's how he does it. You too do it the same way. Do it like him. That's the mantra. Don't be wary of divergences or diversities or differentiations. That's the spice of life. Let there be many. Let there be divisions. But at the core of all the divisions must lie your pure heart, your pure self. There you cannot afford any division. Let you be a man of multiple personalities. But beneath all those personalities must lie your untouchable essence. Do not try to force over yourself a uniform and single personality. That is nonsensical. How many personalities does God have? An infinite number, right? You are his personality, you are his personality, you are his personality. An infinite number of personalities does he have. You too must be capable of responding to the situation. And just as situations are infinite, therefore your responses too must be infinite. Every response would denote a different personality. Do not try to become a particular type of man. Do not be typecasted. Live atypically. In fact, live outrageously. Now come on. You're trying to emulate God? Would you ever succeed? Maybe you would. Who knows?